Good morning, everybody. My name is Prem Kumar Shanmugam. Sam was asking me this morning, how do I pronounce your surname? It's Shanmugam. I'm from, okay, why did you guys guess where I'm from? It's part of the talk anyway.
Malaysia.
It's somewhere there? Sri Lanka.
Singapore.
India.
Borneo.
Sorry?
Borneo.
India.
Borneo.
Borneo? Sorry, sir?
India.
India. United Kingdom? How many? India maybe. Where else? Anybody else?
Liverpool.
Oh my God.
Asia.
Where's that?
Covers everything. Southeast Asia.
Okay. Oh, Asia. Okay, thank you. I'm from Malaysia. Sorry, not Liverpool. I'm from Malaysia, and I come from, but I have been in Singapore for many years. Most of my practice was in Singapore. Family, married, kids in Singapore, but I'm now settled in the Borneo Island. Borneo Island is about, if you guys are familiar with Kuala Lumpur in Singapore, it's a 2.5-hour flight from Singapore. It's a nice little island. It's got 3 countries on the island: Brunei, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So it's a lovely place to be. We get the beach, we get the tropical climate, and we get the mountains. So sorry if I disappointed you, yeah, the other countries. Now I work in a treatment facility called Solace, and we are a residential treatment center. We have about, we can bid 28 clients at any point of time, but normally we have about 20, 22 clients. And we see quite an international population in Solace. Okay, so we have patients from various regions. Right now, I would think 50% are Malaysians and Singaporeans, and the rest of them, maybe about 40% are from the Middle East, Middle Easterners, and we have another 10% from various other countries. So it's an interesting mix that we see, and we have a clinical team from various countries as well. So that's me. Okay. We're going to talk about, or I'm going to try and talk about how culture or the various cultures impact professionals, or what we should know when we sit with a patient who comes with all these multicultural belief system, values, when they sit in front of you, and what are the things we should know and at least try and appreciate, because we see that very often. Right? Now, when I was sitting here just now, when I was standing here looking at all you guys, I was looking, wait a minute, everyone is white. Now this is quite rare, except 1 or 2 other colors. Because when we speak in Asia, we get Malaysians, we have Chinese, we have the Indians, we have the Malays, and we have various different kind of populations. So that's the normal crowd that I'm used to, right? So now when I speak, I'm thinking, what kind of joke should I crack that you fellows will understand? Or how should I speak, which is not going to be not so nice, because I have been in difficult situations before, and we'll talk about it. So addiction. All of you work in the field of addictions, I'm assuming. Any medical practitioners? Okay. Psychiatry? Social workers? Okay. Psychologists? Counselors? Excellent. All of you guys are from UK. Would I be right to say that?
Yeah, where do you think I'm from?
Oh my. When I heard you guys speaking something which is not English. Sweden? Poland?
Denmark.
Europe.
Oh my God. Pluto? Mars? Oh my God.
Iceland, yes!
Wow, that's a beautiful place, yeah? Okay, there you go. See, we can't even, imagine if she's a patient and she's sitting in front of you, right? And you don't know where she's from. I would think you're British. So in my head, I'm already formulating a case already. Right? I'm building perceptions or other. That she's British, she's going to bring some British values, some British English belief systems already. Iceland, welcome. How far is that from here? not too far. I had to fly 13 hours. So it's quite a flight. This is happening in most families today. The moment you guys came in just now, everyone was on the phone, right? Everybody, you have to update, you have to send meetings, you got to respond to emails. Everyone has some form of addiction. I'm very addicted to my phone, just like most of you. Now we see this happening even in families today. Do you guys have family dinners?
Yes.
On Sundays? How does the dinner go? Excellent. Yeah, it's excellent. Now what, unfortunately, even in my home, now when we live in a double-story house, but we text each other. How's that? What's for breakfast today? My wife texted me this morning and she asked me, do you want some sandwiches? And she's downstairs. So we are very dependent on technology, highly dependent on technology, so much that I don't know if my dog has an iPad, but everyone is so dependent. We struggle to detox from, what you call it, the digital detox. I've tried it for half a day and I had withdrawals. Okay? It was psychological withdrawals. Bad. So everybody is becoming dependent. Now, we know there are various models of addiction. Most of us are familiar with the disease model, are we not? You guys familiar with the disease model? Or sometimes known as the biopsychosocial spiritual model, right? So, biological, psychological, social, spiritual, right? Now what's the biological part? What component does that cover? Anyone?
Physical health?
Sorry?
Physical health?
Yeah, health, right? Psychiatry, mental health. Psychology? Yeah, depression, anxiety, trauma, upbringing, belief system. Social?
Isolation.
Yeah, environment. Peers you grow up with, the upbringing that you're exposed to. If you're exposed to an environment where you see your dad beating or physically abusing your mom daily, or constantly exposed to that kind of an environment, what do you think the belief system of the child is going to be when he or she grows up? Yeah, traumatized. Or he starts to build a belief system. It's okay to beat women. Women should be beaten. These are from the social aspect. What about spirituality? What's that? Sorry? Belief systems? Values. Yeah? Values, core beliefs, self-esteem. Can it be religion? It can. Is religion good or no good? If it works for you. Yeah? So religion is good, of course. Okay. So that's the biopsychosocial model. Now what we seem to not talk about, or we seem not to include so much in the psychosocial aspect, is the cultural bit. Okay? Now very often when we speak, or when I speak in Singapore and in Malaysia or in the Southeast Asia region, we use a Western model of treatment. It's quite obvious. Science, psychology, psychiatry comes from this part of the world. We fine-tune it to specific needs of our patients, right? But we are working with a population who has not been exposed to these values or these cultures here. Let's look at this study, okay? Now this story is about Pat. Now you guys listen to the story a little bit and tell me what you think. Pat is 25 years old. Chinese, father, nationality Chinese, British mother, married to a British, beginning to have alcohol problems, addiction problems, relationship issues. Got it? That's the case. Okay? 25 years old, Chinese, married to a British, and beginning to have addiction problems. Can you visualize the case now? Think about it, okay? Mentally try and picture a case, okay? Who's Pat? This is Pat? Okay. Who's Pat? Come on, let's take a guess. How many of you say this is Pat? Let's see a show of hands. Okay. How many of you say this is pet? Okay, the rest of you don't understand English, obviously. Okay, pet, this is pet. Why can't this be pet? Patrick. Yeah, he was adopted by a Chinese national. And his mother is Chinese. Right? So, this is how we build perceptions. Think about it for a second. You know, counselors, when we see cases, we write case notes. And let's say you are following up in the case for 6 sessions or 8 sessions or whatever, and for some reason you need to hand over the case to somebody else. For whatever reason, you need to terminate the sessions. And you pass your case notes to somebody. What are you telling the person? What do you think you're sharing with the person? You're sharing with the person your perceptions of the situation or the case, which you have formulated. Just like what you guys said, you assume this is fact. Yeah, of course, it can be Patricia, or she can be Patrick for the meantime. Okay? So we assume. Now I'll share with you a case that happened in Solace. Most synthetic drugs today, people who abuse synthetic drugs present some kind of psychotic symptoms. We know that. We have seen that happening. Now we had this young Indian boy, Malaysian Indian, 23, maybe 24 years old, and he was abusing crystal meth, ice. All familiar with ice? Okay, all tried ice? What a waste. Okay. When I read something that ice, the high that ice gives you is equivalent to 1,000 orgasms. Think about it. All thinking of trying it later? Okay, anyway, let's come back to the case. So this young man now comes from a very staunch Indian culture. They believe a lot in prayers and religion and spirituality and things like that. So he comes to treatment and he wears a red string around his head. Okay? Now he comes to our psychologist. The psychologist is from America, an American, very intelligent, very intelligent, matured professional. And he does an evaluation. Now this boy tells him, I believe this room is so positive. My mom walked in and said, the spirits here are so good. And then he says, I can feel the spirits giving me positive vibes. Now what do you think our American psychologist says? He's psychotic. He's hearing voices. And they send him off to the psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist is a Malaysian who understands the culture and understands where this boy comes from. He figured that this boy is very pious, mainly because of that little string that he was wearing on his hand. So instead of, we could have medicated him, start to put him on antipsychotics and start to treat him, maybe for the wrong reasons. He was not psychotic anyway. He was bringing his cultural values and his beliefs into the setting. Does that make any sense? Do you guys see that? Do you see that here? Can anyone share a case? Too early to speak? Not warmed up yet? Okay. I'm going to play a video and then we'll have a chat.
If the whole world were a village of 100 people, 61 would come from Asia. Asia includes countries like China, Japan, India, Russia, Pakistan, and many others. 13 people in our village are from all of Africa. Only 5 in our village of 100 come from North America. 8 people come from Central and South America. And 12 people come from Europe. Oh yes. The 100th person in our village comes from Oceania, which is Australia, New Zealand, and all the other beautiful islands of the South Pacific. whole world were...
Oops, sorry. What did I do? Sorry for that.
And 12 people come from Europe. Oh, yes. The 100th person in our village comes from Oceania, which is Australia, New Zealand, and all the other beautiful islands of the South Pacific. If the whole world were a village of 100 people, more than half would speak one of 8 languages. How do you say hello, Wei?
Ni hao ma.
22 people speak a Chinese dialect, like Wei.
Ni hao.
9 people in our village speak English, like Jason.
Ni hao. Oh, hello. Hello.
Boo is one of 8 people who speak Hindi.
Namaste. Hola.
Miguel is one of 7 people in our village who speak Spanish. 4 people speak Bengali, like Saraf.
Aije.
And 4 others speak Arabic, like Fatima.
Ahlan.
There are 3 people who speak Lena's language, Russian.
Здравствуйте.
And 3 people who speak Portuguese, like Fernando.
Bom dia.
So, if you could speak these 8 languages, Chinese,
Ni hao ma.
English,
Hello.
Hindi,
Namaste.
Spanish,
Hola.
Bengali,
Aije.
Arabic,
Ahlan.
Russian,
Здравствуйте.
and Portuguese,
Bom dia.
you could say hello to over half the people in our village. Wouldn't that be something?
The universal village here that we just saw is 100 people, yeah, representing the world. So, 61 Asians. What does that tell you? Quite a few Asians, yeah? 12 Europeans, 13 Africans, and it goes down. Now the languages, let's look at the languages. Oh dear. Okay. You know what's the most spoken language? Make a wild guess.
English.
Sorry. No, Mandarin. Apparently, according to this, I'm sorry, it's not clear. I'll give you the slides here. I will give you guys the slides. 845 people speak it as a first language. Okay. The second most spoken. Make a wild guess.
English.
Hindi. Any Hindi speakers here? Oh, okay. So you will be able to survive almost in any country. Okay. And then apparently it says, yeah, it goes on Arabic. After the Arabic is English. Then is Spanish. Then is Russian. Not very clear. I'll share the slides with you guys. Okay. Now, many of us speak more than one language. Am I right? Anyone speak more than 2 languages? Okay. 3? 4? 3? 4? 3? 3? What do you speak, sir? English?
Me?
Yeah.
English, Hindi, Punjabi.
Punjabi. Sir? What do you speak?
English, French, Dutch, and German.
Okay, excellent. So you speak languages which are more common to the region, right?
Yeah.
To where you are from, right? Generally. Now, anyone here who speaks English and some other language completely? Oh, wow, interesting. What do you speak, sir?
I speak English and Yoruba, which is a West Nigerian language.
Oh, okay. All right.
English Icelandic, Danish.
Danish. So many of us actually speak quite a few languages. Now let's look at the religions. Christianity, okay, followed by Islam, and then apparently it says Hinduism, Buddhism, this is Buddhism, yeah, and followed by Chinese religions. The rest are indigenous. Now, according to this map, this is where I come from. This is the Borneo Island, okay? This whole thing is the Borneo Island. This is Malaysia. Singapore is a small little dot down there. From one end of Singapore to the other end, it takes a 45-minute drive, that's it. You've driven across the country. And this is Indonesia, okay? So Christianity apparently is the is the largest, then followed by Islam. Yeah, some statistics. Okay? The waterline of visibility. What you see is this. You see their age, the religion, gender. Sometimes it's difficult. Physical abilities, race. What we don't see is this. What are their values? What are their belief system? I worked with a family when I was in Singapore, Indian family. I used to do a lot of social welfare work, social work. So when the organization I worked at, we gave out what you call pocket money, allowances. You guys have that here, right? Don't you? Yeah. So it's very similar concept. So this lady comes to me and she says, I need money because my children don't have enough money to go to school. So my job is to investigate it. So I ask her questions. Why? What's your husband doing? How old are your kids? What are you working as? And she tells me she's a dishwasher. She makes so much of money. She says my husband is a lorry driver. And then I'm like, wow, lorry drivers earn good money in Singapore. So why is that not enough when you only have 2 kids? And then she says, well, my husband is not working at the moment. So why? My question is why? And then she says, well, he has got a fine from the police because he was driving under the influence and they have revoked his license. So then I start to ask her more questions about their drinking and all. And then she tells me, interestingly, my husband is a wonderful human being. He's a very good father and he's a very good husband. He drinks every day. He's drunk every day, but he only beats me up on the weekends. Like, okay, interesting. So he beats you up? Yeah. But he loves me and he loves my children. So now I'm thinking, what is the message that this lady has? Or the belief system that she has? What does it say? So we try, of course, to educate her, educate the family, to make them understand that physical abuse is not acceptable. But to her, it's okay. Then I ask her why or what is this beating about or what is this abuse about? And she says, he's a very hard-working man. He comes home, he needs a hot plate of food and he needs it ready for him. But sometimes I'm unable to cook the food up for him and serve it to him in hot enough. So he beats me. So with cases like this, how do we manage it? It's my belief system, my values tell me it's wrong. It's not right. But she accepts it. You get what I mean? Yeah? And I'm sure you guys see it here as well. It's not that it's only happening in Malaysia. Culture forms the expectations of individuals about the potential problems they may face with drug use. Now sometimes culture becomes a very protective factor. For example, the Muslims, any Muslims here? Okay. Religiously or culturally, is alcohol allowed? Protective factor. Any Chinese here? Okay. Gambling? Gambling is a norm for the Chinese. If you don't gamble, you're not Chinese. That's what we say in Singapore. So when they come with a gambling problem, for example, they present with a gambling problem in the treatment facility, and you tell them this is an addiction and it's a problem, they don't get it. Because it's culturally accepted to gamble. During the festive seasons, during the New Year celebrations, everyone plays mahjong. If you're familiar with mahjong, right? And they use money. Everything is about gambling. Everything is about money. So these are social cultural beliefs that these people have. And if I don't understand it, or if I don't at least know about it, it's very difficult for me to work with this population. So what is culture? Let's quickly run through what culture is. It's defined by a community, its heritage passed from generation to generation, shared values, beliefs, customs, art, There's so much of rich culture in England. I love it. I was in France last year when I came to UK set iCAAD. Wow, amazing rich history. Similar relationships and socialization patterns. Now cultures sometimes have similar relationships, but cultures also change because of geographical locations. Now, I'm an Indian, I'm a Hindu, but I'm not an Indian. I'm a Malaysian Indian. So my great grandfather was from India, paternal grandfather, my father's father. So he came to Malaysia, and we were born and grew up in Malaysia. So my values are very different from the Indians. I'm more acculturated to the Malaysian kind of customs, which is a bit different, slightly different. Our belief systems may be slightly different. Of course, I don't dress like I'm from India, do I? But the Indian dresses are beautiful anyway. They look beautiful. Cultural identity, being a part of a particular group. Now, cultural identity is because we mix, we interact, we form common things together, and then as a result of the group, we identify. Just like drug cultures. Are you guys familiar with drug cultures? Do you know that addicts have their own cultures? Right? They have their own languages? We'll talk about that. Okay, of course, like I said, it's not static, yeah? It develops and changes across the life cycle. And people tend to re-evaluate cultural identities. We resist, we rebel sometimes to reformulate in order to fit into the new environment that we move into. And that's what my parents would have done when they moved to Malaysia or Singapore. So what's with culture and substance abuse? We talked about psychosocial, the biopsychosocial spiritual model earlier. And someone mentioned, when I said peers, someone mentioned something earlier. Imagine living in an environment where your roommate smokes drugs every day. He smokes cannabis every day. And you're living with a roommate like that. What do you think is going to happen to you after a period of time? You're going to smoke it. Now, not everyone becomes an addict. Do we agree? Some people are predisposed. Do we agree? Do we know why? Yeah. Genetics, trauma, right. Something to do with the brain. There's a deficiency in the reward system. I think there are various theories, right? There are many theories to say why some people are more prone to becoming addicted. Say university students today, I think this is worldwide, using meth, crystal meth. It helps them stay alert. It helps them focus on exams. So let's say 10 of them start smoking meth for a week to prepare for the exams. Maybe 8 of them get away with it. 2 or 3 of them continue using it because they create a dependency. Yeah? The body tolerance level increases. So social cultural beliefs shape the approach to use. What about the war against addictions? What is war against addictions? Fighting addictions. Now, in Malaysia, where I'm from, I'm going to use a lot of examples from where I come from. That's okay, you guys, yeah? Makes it a little comfortable for me. I tried reading up as much as I can about Europe, but there's too much of information. There's a big drug problem in Malaysia. Sorry? No, okay. There's a big drug problem in Malaysia and Singapore. We all know that. For some of us who have been in Singapore, you guys know that. How many of you have flown to Singapore, been to Singapore? Tell me something you know about addiction, drugs in Singapore.
Very illegal.
Sorry?
Very illegal.
Very illegal, yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Tell me something you know when you say drugs and then the word Singapore. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Nico. And that's what we hear, that's what we know, right? Right? Singapore has a huge addiction problem, I can tell you that. I've done a lot of work there. You can still buy drugs from the streets. It's still possible, unfortunately. It's smuggled in through Indonesia and even Malaysia. And there are people who are addicted and need help badly. Now, I have when I was working in Singapore, in fact, Nico, my friend here, and I tried to actually start a rehab in Singapore to help people suffering with addictions there. But for various reasons, we could not do it because Singapore did not want to start a rehab. I think, this is what I think, because they did not want to show the world that they have a drug problem, or they did not want to send that perception, that we actually have a problem. So fighting these addictions is not an easy task at all. In Malaysia, we are so big. We have 13 states throughout the country. I don't know what's our population now, but we are so huge, and we have a big drug problem. We introduced methadone. We still use methadone. Singapore introduced methadone for 2 years, but then they banned it after that. It's not easy to manage at all. Okay. Professional biases. Anybody here biased against addicts? Anyone have an issue with addictions? Okay, good, because I'll ask you to change your profession then. Yeah, and not an equal opportunity. Well, ethnic minorities, if we're talking about people who go to the public service or go to the government and seek help, unfortunately not everyone gets the help that they need for various reasons. I guess rural, maybe geographical reasons, maybe. Yeah, so not equal opportunity. Okay. I'll explain the pictures to you. This is a picture which I got last year, somewhere around beginning of the year. There was a big flood in Kota Kinabalu. Big flood in the sense that the village, the rural areas were flooded. Now in Kota Kinabalu, there is one kind of people known as the Kadazans. And the Kadazan people love to drink. If you don't drink, you're not a Kadazan. Just like if you don't gamble, you're not a Chinese. So this was an interesting picture. The floods were so bad, but our friends here were happily having a drink sitting outside the house. And this is the drink that they brew. They make their own alcohol. And it's kind of cultural that you need to learn to brew alcohol. You can be a professional, a doctor, lawyer, or engineer, or whatever, but you need to learn to brew alcohol if you're Kadazan. This is toddy. Okay, sorry. Do you know what fruit this is? Yes, coconuts, yeah? Now, did you know you can get alcohol from a coconut tree? You know that, yeah? I think in Africa you have it, right?
Yeah, you get them from palm trees.
Palm trees, right. In India it's very popular as well. Now what they do, the flower, before it opens up, if you have seen a coconut tree flower, it looks, something like this, okay, before it blooms. Then of course the coconuts are all over. Now this doesn't look like a nice picture, does it? Okay. So they cut this off, and the milk that drips, they tie a pot there. The milk, the sap from the flower, yeah, so that's alcohol. Very easily obtained. India. Now in India, if you have been to India, some of you who have, you would have noticed, and anyone here been to India? Okay. Did you realize that every street had a wine shop? Did you see that? Am I right to say that, sir?
Not really.
Not really, okay. When I was in Chennai, maybe I was too observant, I think.
I mean local wine or whatever, English wine, not...
No, the local ones. Not the English ones, of course.
Not every state.
Really? Not every state, maybe. Okay.
Mahatma Gandhi state is a dry state.
But I think now they have banned it. Yeah, they are closing down wine shops, they are closing down alcohol shops, which has been fantastic. I saw a video the other day that some reporter was doing with these people who were standing outside the shop, which was closed. And they were asking the guy, what are you going to do now? There's no alcohol. And he said, I'm going to die. Yeah. And in the interview he's saying, I want to die. Why do you want to die? Because I cannot live without the alcohol. I want to die. So it's quite a bad problem. Okay. When cultures move, or when people move from one place to another place, just like you have so many people from other countries coming in here, change happens. You know the word acculturation? Have you heard the word acculturation? Yeah, now this is change. Now during acculturation, there's a lot of psychological stress, there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of fighting, or there's a lot of battling with other races and social changes. Now initiation into use during rapid social change. When there's social change happening, apparently people start to use alcohol to manage, just like you use alcohol to manage stresses. Anomie. Anomie basically means loss of healthy ethnic identity. Now when social changes happen, and I heard this yesterday at the talk with Dr. Landau, Judith Landau. She was talking about this very interestingly. She presented some studies. When you lose your ethnic identity, when you lose your values, when you start to blend and you start to absorb into other social cultures, that's called anomie. And that's when you need, the stresses become so bad that people start to turn to alcohol. I say here, there are higher rates with natives who identify with non-Native American values. Wow, we have the youngest participant in iCAAD today. So, when the natives of America, I think natives anywhere, doesn't necessarily have to be America, when they start to lose their values and start to accept the foreign values, the challenges become so difficult. Lower rates with bicultural individuals. You know what are bicultural individuals? I would think I'm a yes, sir.
I'm a bicultural.
Are you?
I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience? Is that okay?
Well, my father and my mother are both different races and different cultures.
Okay. But you live here now?
I was born here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I think the reason for this is because bicultural people become a little bit more resilient, a little bit more acceptance. So you have lower rates of alcohol use. What else do we have? Indigenous cultural values are protective factors. All agree? Agree or don't agree?
What was the question?
Exactly. It depends on the culture, okay? If you're a Kannada, you won't have this.
No.
Yeah.
Or Russian.
Yeah, or Russian. Or French?
Or Australian.
Oh, straight. Okay. Alcohol and illegal drugs in acculturated Hispanics. Now, acculturation is a process that happens when cultures... Okay, I'll show that in the next slide. I'm going to skip this, okay? So how does culture help? And what are the strengths of people? What are their strengths when they are strongly, closely knit with their own culture? It helps with setting goals. It defines social rules, because now you can't do certain things that the community will not allow you to do. It allows for cooperation. Now, we have villages back in Malaysia still. We call them kampong, yeah? Nice little villages which you still have here, and I've seen them. People are very close. People are very cooperative to each other. When there's a problem, everyone gets together and they try and help each other, you know. In fact, I remember when I was young, my neighbor, when they cook something, they share it with us. When we cook something, we share it with them. You know, we always have open doors. We have functions, we have festivals, birthday parties. Yesterday, Dr. Farid was sharing with me an interesting story about how everyone knows when you have a child at home, the whole neighborhood knows. Yeah. It allows for cooperation, views human nature through time, orientation, and property, and it allows for identity and individuality. So it helps me when I'm able to identify myself with the culture or with something that I know protects me. Now, we did this survey recently here in England, okay, and I wanted to share the findings with you. It's not published yet, but it's just a survey which we sent out to 500 people, and these are the demographics. Maybe you guys can tell me what you think, okay? These are the 3 questions we asked. If you developed a dependence on drugs, alcohol, or other addictions, such as gambling, where do you think you would be most likely to seek help? Question 1. In general, do you believe those with the same ethnicity as you have a particular stigma against addiction? Think of the question a little bit. And then, please confirm how you would describe your ethnicity. That's for us to know the ethnicity, okay? This is what we found, yeah? I'll read it to you, okay? Now this is the region. London. Hello. Gender, male. Most of them are males, of course, and females. Now age group, the highest age group was 25 to 34. Now race-wise, they were almost equivalent. Almost. Okay? Sorry?
Could you just tell us what the race groups are?
Okay. Mixed race, Asian white.
Oh, it's white as well.
Yeah, yeah. Okay? Black, mixed race, Asian, okay. So this is what we found, yeah? This you can read. These are the whites, the Asian, African, and the mixed. So, the question on ethnicity. So 44% of the whites say they will check into a local rehab. Why do you think that is?
Because they have experience of that in their friends and peer groups and families and...
Maybe they've heard about it quite often, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. 45% of the Asians say they'll go into a rehab abroad. Why do you think that is? Sorry? Shame, yeah. We call it face, yeah? They call it face value in the Asian context. And this is not uncommon at all. I can tell you lots of stories about Asians who come into treatment. Now, one of the biggest problems, just away from this, is that we face working with Asians is codependency. If you've heard of this term, okay? Families become highly codependent with each other actually. It's not only on one person, but then it gets worse when there's one ill person. It's almost like, in fact, I say this quite often, family, as you all know, is a unit, right? You need to function as a unit. So there's the parent, there's the father, the mother, the child, blah, blah, blah. So as they keep functioning, now imagine the virus, addiction, okay, goes in, inflicts the family system. Now the homeostasis is shaken up. There's an imbalance. So what happens is, they all start to take on new roles to protect each other. But actually what they're doing is they're taking on new roles to protect the addict. You get what I mean? So the addict continues. The illness, the virus continues to inflict. And they continue to evolve, they function, but the addiction goes on. One fine day, when you can't take it, they say, okay, it's time for treatment. We remove the addict, the sick person, we get him treated. We put him in a rehab or hospital or whatever, right? Now all of a sudden, this family has got no role. You see, the homeostasis is shaken up. And this guy gets cleaned up, he comes back home to an untreated environment, what happens? Yeah, we see that happening very important. Sometimes to the extent, families jeopardize the treatment. They don't realize it. But they actually find reasons to take out the addict because they need the addict. There's a codependent behavior that happens. Addiction to the relationship. Individuality, that's the Western concept. The Asians call it, what's the other word? What's the opposite of individuality, oh dear? Sorry?
Community.
With another word, come on guys.
Plurality.
Sorry?
Plurality.
Plurality. Well, see, the Westerners try to become individualistic, right? When your child is 18, 19, 20, you tell them, go get a life, this is your money, I've done my part. Asians don't do that. Even if you're 40, 50 years old, my mom still calls me up. And so my mom still checks on me. Have you eaten enough? Did your wife cook for you properly? Is your wife taking care of you? And when mom with this, wife and mom have problems. So I have two kitchens in my house. One is for mom, one is for wife. There's a codependent behavior that goes on and on and on, and it's very, very obvious to the Asians. Is it as bad here? No, right? Okay. Well, there are pros and cons to it.
Sorry, did you mean with Asians in England?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
You see the same thing?
Yeah,
Okay. The controlling behavior. Do they jeopardize the treatment? Do they?
yeah.
They do, right?
I mean, I don't know. That's kind of hard to say. It depends. But I mean, I worked with a an Indian guy recently,
Okay.
and I realised at the end of the treatment that the whole family needed treatment.
Exactly.
But he'd been through treatment before I realised that, so I referred them on. But I saw that the whole family was linked into this. The mother had put her stuff onto him since he was a child, the anxiety levels and everything, and the whole family just operated together like one unit. I didn't realise that until he was coming towards the end of his treatment when I started to engage with the family.
In fact, sometimes treating the addict doesn't go that far, but you treat the family, the addict starts to recover. We see that happening very often. And that's the reason we actually do a family program. We have a very structured family program, and we have a program for just like you guys. I'm sure you all do that as well. Alright, let's move on. So, majority of the Asians go abroad, and also here, apparently majority of the Asians prefer one-on-one counseling. It could be a face thing, I don't know. The whites say that they prefer just to go through friends and family and partner. At the same time, the whites, a big 57% of them prefer to seek treatment from another place. Now, how many would go to AA? The Asians and the whites are almost 29-30% prefer AA. Sorry?
The AA one is the fourth from the bottom.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Oh, sorry, oh yeah. So 33, actually the whites prefer to go to AA, which I'm not really surprised.
But the mixed race prefers to go to
As well.
What's that all about?
I don't know. What do you think? Well, this is not an experiment, this is a survey, so we can just make assumptions. What I was planning to do is look up at some past studies and see if anyone has done studies on this, and try and see if we can connect it. Yeah. Bicultural? Which makes them a little bit more, yeah, okay. Okay, let's look at the next one. This is the second question. Do you want me to go back to the second question? Let me show you what the second question was. In general, do you believe those with the same ethnicity as you have a particular stigma against addiction? Okay? Got it? Let's look at what they say. Yes, more than other ethnicities, whites. Yes, but no more than other ethnicities, Asians. Mixed races, no. I'm not sure mixed races are the highest. Let's look at these two. I find these two interesting. Yes, more than other ethnicities, the whites. What does that say? Well, the whites and the Asians both say they are judgmental, you think? Towards other ethnicities? Probably? But who seems to be more forthcoming? Any assumptions?
No, I'm not understanding what the question was.
Okay.
Can we go back to the question?
Sure. Do you believe those with the same ethnicity as you have a particular stigma against addiction? So if I'm a Russian, do I believe that another Russian person has a particular stigma against addiction? Okay? So we know both the whites and the Asians agree. Right? But the whites say, yes, more than other ethnicities. But the Asians say, no more than other ethnicities. It sounds like the whites are a bit more honest about their opinions, and the Asians maybe are not so open about it, do you think? Possibly? Again, we can link it back to the faith, value, shame. Possibly? Okay. Anyway, it's just a survey. Do you know what's the difference between race, culture, ethnicity?
Yes.
Okay. Let's not go into details, okay? It can get boring. Basically, a social construct describing people with similar physical characteristics, but does not necessarily mean that it has similar meaning in the environment. So like I said earlier, I'm an Indian, but I'm not an Indian, I'm a Malaysian Indian. You are English, but you may not be a British born English, you could be, okay? Can I skip these slides? Is that alright? Is that alright with you? I don't want to bore you guys too much. Are you all okay so far?
Yep.
You got to bear with me another 30 minutes. Can you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So racial identity talks about identifying based on physical characteristics as well as genetic origins. Like I said. So what is ethnicity? Basically, family of origin, social and cultural heritage. That's what my ethnicity is about, which all of you have, based on what your parents told you, what your family members told you. Correct? And this is very important, as clinicians, beware of stereotyping. And we did that earlier in the case of Pat. Did you realize that? We did that in the case of Pat?
Yeah.
Okay. So ethnic identity as well, becoming a member of an ethnic group. So I have my little group of, it's just like drug addictions. They have their group. If I'm an addict, I need to be with a group of people who are addicted. If I'm in recovery, I need to be with a group of people who are in recovery. Only that is going to help me identify and keep myself safe actually. Okay, what else do I have? So, we all have a cultural identity. Do you all have a cultural identity? How many of you do not have a cultural identity? Anyone here does not have? Really? You think so?
It's difficult because I suppose I'm Asian African, so I was born and raised in Malawi, but I'm also very British because I've lived here most of my life. But I still have a lot of identifying factors with Malawi that speak very British, dress very British. But I'm really, it's a bit of a, I don't know if I can say I've got a cultural identity, I think I'm a mixed cultural identity, but I'm also Muslim as well, and I think a lot of things from Muslim Islam as well. So, and I think that's a really good question to ask, because I think that's one of the things a lot of other people I've met who are like myself, who have different identities, there's more in our cultural identity.
You can have more than one.
Yeah,
you can have two. You can have two.
It can be something that's fluid.
Sorry?
It can be something that's fluid.
Yeah.
I mean, when I meet a group of Nigerians, I become Nigerian.
Right.
When I'm with my English mates, I'm English.
Right.
If I go to the ghetto, I speak with a ghetto slang. I walk. You can have more than one.
But you feel accepted in the different places you go to.
Yes.
But I don't think it's even about being accepted. It's just about what shapes who you are and your belief system. So, so you will have all these different identities mixed together. None of them are Peruvian Indian or, Inuit. Do you see what I mean? So that's not in your mix. So it's not something that it's just random. It's something that we all
You don't even
acquire.
think about it. It just happens, and people point out, how come you're speaking different all of a sudden? And I don't know. It's just there. It's part of who you are.
Do you struggle with it? Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Okay. Where would you have guessed? Can I use you as an example? You don't have a choice now. Where would you have guessed Dr. Fardin is from? Looking at him.
Yeah.
That would help. Thank you.
Iran.
Northern India.
Yeah.
Iran.
India. Yeah. So
You told us before he was from India, didn't you? All right. Okay.
When I met him yesterday, I had a chat with Dr. Fadin yesterday. He said he's from Malawi, and I was like, now should I tell him I don't know where that is, or should I pretend? Or should I just pretend?
It's where Madonna adopted her son.
Oh, really? Okay. The thing is, the globe is becoming smaller, it's shrinking. Do you all realize that? In the sense that, well, 5 years ago, I would not have imagined standing here and giving a talk because it's too far away. It's 13 hours away. It's just too far. Now, last week when I was coming here, I arrived in London on Wednesday, I think. Now, a week before that, I get a call from my sister, and she says, "Are you going to London?" I say, "Yes, I'm going to give a talk in London." This is my sister, by the way. And then she says, and that's my wife. Now, would you have imagined that? How would you imagine my wife? Same as me. You thought this was my wife? Yeah. Can you stand up to this? My wife. So, can you imagine our children? Give it a thought. What color would they be? Huh? Mix? What color? Well, I'm brown. She's yellow.
Brown is yellow.
To me?
It really depends because you can, that's a genetic thing.
Yeah.
So they could be white.
They could be dark.
Depends on your genetic.
Yeah, it depends on your genes. Yeah. Okay, we have lots of mixed marriages today, and we see very interesting. Yeah, I'm thinking now while I'm talking, do I have pictures of the kids? No. But my kids look like it is. They're all yellowish, whitish. But that's what's happening, you see. The world is becoming smaller, the globe is shrinking. And Shami calls me, my sister calls me, and she says, "Oh, you're going to go in London? I'm going to be in Frankfurt at work. And let me just fly over." And she just pops over here yesterday or 2 days ago. And we are here in, 14, 15 hours away from where we're supposed to be. We have patients in Solace who come from, where's the furthest can I think? Yeah, from UK. We have had before. Now many of them are coming from the Middle East. So I was wondering, why are they coming from the Middle East to Malaysia? Then I realized, cultural. The values, the belief system, because Malaysia is a Muslim country. So it's a Muslim friendly country, and they feel comfortable to come there. There's halal food, the mosque for them to pray. Of course, we don't use religion to teach, but the belief is there that it's culturally comfortable for the Middle Easterners. Yeah, from Dubai, Riyadh, Jeddah mostly. Recently Sudan, we've started having quite a few people from Sudan. Sorry? Oman? Yeah.
Is that just men?
Yes. Why do you think so?
Women, they tend to feel like women.
Yes. It's a very important question. Very good question. Let me share. Do I see if I have time? Okay. Let me share a quick story with you. My experience when I went to Riyadh, I was invited to speak at a conference in Jeddah, and huge. It was not psychology. It was more psychiatry and medicine. But they asked me to talk a little bit about treatment programs, and I went there, and I was warned. Don't talk too much to the women. You need to be careful. You need to respect the culture there. So I said, okay, I understand that. Now when I went there, huge crowd. I think there were 2,000 people in that. But that my talk had about, I don't know, maybe about 500, 600. And the hall was divided into two. Okay? Women on one side and men on one side. So I'm standing on a stage, not on the flag ground, but on the stage. And I'm speaking, and we get questions from there, questions from here. And naturally, as presenters or speakers, when the crowd starts to ask you questions, you get motivated, right? You know they're listening to you. So for some reason, the women started asking more questions, and I started responding to them. And we were joking, and they started laughing, and the noise on the women's side got higher. I was asked to stop. There was the moderator on stage who actually asked me to stop, to take it easy. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. It's cultural. I had to respect that. Now the same thing happened. I did some training in a hospital in Riyadh for the psychiatrists, doctors on treatment aspects, counseling. All the male doctors sat in front, the female doctors sat at the back. And I kept asking them, do you have questions? Do you have questions? And the doctors in front said, no, you don't worry, when they have questions, we'll tell you, don't ask them. It was really fun though. I mean, I enjoyed myself talking. Then I had this lady, a doctor of course, she came up to me and she said, we'd like to invite you to the... Oops. Okay, the railing just dropped. Is it safe?
I think it is.
Okay. Okay, anyway. Yeah. So, the doctor came up to the psychiatrist, and mind you, they are very brilliant. They ask excellent questions. And she says, we would like to invite you to speak at an all-women's university. I'm like, wow, really? I'm so excited, okay? Now I'm actually going to be speaking to women, and I'm going to be the first man who's going to be standing there. And I said, thank you so much. Tell me, when do I come? And will I really be talking to the women? You know what she said? Yeah. But you'll be in a room. There'll be a video camera. You'll be talking to the camera, and they will be sitting outside. That's it. I have to respect that.
In your treatment center, how do you divide the men and women?
With,
Do you group therapy altogether, or do you split them?
no. Therapy is together.
Men and women?
Yeah. Therapy is together, but the lodgings are separated. We have women in a separate unit and we have men in a separate unit. If not, we'll start having solace babies on site. You know, people in early recovery, they're very active, sexually, emotionally, and you can't be running around tying them up. So, I'm sure you have seen that in your rehabs. How many of you guys are from rehabs actually? Working in rehab, right? I'm sure you'll see that with the men and women.
We actually, I work in a hospital.
Okay.
There is an addictions unit, and we don't sort of separate the men and the women.
Okay.
We haven't had any babies. But with the Middle Eastern, we do get a lot of clients from the Middle East.
Oh, you do?
So some of the issues that you mentioned are very relevant.
Okay.
Not just in addictions, but in the general psychiatry areas as well. Male and female patients.
So you get female patients from the Middle East? Wow, that's exciting. Addictions?
It's very difficult, you know, when they're suffering from depression, and then they talk about their lives and the restrictions and the things that happen to them. And how do you go forward when you have that whole cultural thing going on? It's difficult.
Yeah, it is very difficult.
And they might want to say to somebody, you know, let's set a boundary and take some space from your parents, but you can't do that, you know.
Yeah, because they don't understand it, you see. You see, for now, at this moment, we have a patient from Sudan in Solace. Okay? He is 62 years old. I was sharing the story earlier. And PTSD, a war veteran, addict, who was active in addiction. Now, he's been with us for about 5 months now. But when he came to us, he was psychotic. Now, we managed to stabilize the psychosis. We managed to medicate him and all. Now, we also found out that, recently we found out he's also got dementia. Early stages, early signs of dementia. Now he's ready for discharge. Now the family tells me, you know what they want to do with him? Make a wild guess. Sorry? No. That happens also. They want to get him married. He's 62 years old. Exactly. That's exactly my reaction. They want to get him married. So I asked the brother who actually initiated the whole admission in the first place, now why would you want to get him married? And he says, marriage will solve his problem. I'm like, oh my God. That was another problem in the list. But that's how they think. You see. Now very often we have had people with addictions, people in treatment who come from the Middle East. And then they say, don't tell anybody about it. No one should know about it. You fix him up, you clean him up, we'll pay you whatever you need to. When he comes back, we're going to get him married. Or we need him clean because his sister is getting married. If he's not clean, they will not marry his sister. You see, it's cultural, right? No one should know it's a problem. No one should know we have a sick person at home because it's embarrassing, the family is embarrassed, the girls cannot get married. Because marriage is an important thing, culturally, for them. So how do you challenge a person like that? And how do you tell them it may not be wise to get a 60-year-old person with dementia who's in recovery married? Yes, ma'am.
So here's my question, because I'm seeing a few different sort of scenarios,
Okay.
cultural scenarios, but basically, in order for a person to be comfortable in their life, they need to be comfortable in their culture, whether it's the one that they come from or one that they've chosen to move into. So, or a mix of the two. So how much do you challenge that culture when it is a part of the problem? Like, I understand in our own culture we do challenge it quite a lot, but we have a slightly, I would say, step more gently with other people's cultures. And I just don't know how appropriate or useful, how far do you go with challenging the cultural aspect of the illness?
Okay. You mean challenging the beliefs?
Yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts from anyone?
I think you have to be respectful, but I think probably you have to tell them as well. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because you have to respect somebody else's culture. And I think if you involve families and you can explain the nature of addiction to some families, that they can accept that and the reason why you challenge certain things.
So I suppose education. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, lots of education. Yes, sir.
I think it's important to put across that there might not be recovery in that community. It's not a judgment against the community, but the individual can access recovery outside the community and still be part of their community. I think that's the way I kind of got around, because that tends to be a problem.
So like in meetings, 12-step programs, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I mean, it's your recovery. So you can access it outside the family, and your family's still there, but you need to go and access this because it might not be present within your community.
So basically, you need to take ownership of your own recovery and be responsible for your own recovery. Don't expect the family to. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the only way around it, if not.
Yes, so what you're saying to that person is effectively you need to take on a little bit of an understanding of another culture, because if you just exist within the existing cultural belief system that you have right now, this isn't going to work.
Well, yeah, because if that recovery is not present in their community, they need to see that. It's no judgment against the community.
No, we're not talking about judgment, we're just talking about how do you frame that?
Well, the point is, you can have both. You can have recovery and be a member of your community. Just because you're doing one thing doesn't mean that you're no longer, you no longer fit in there. You probably fit in better if you're in recovery.
You might not be able to access other people in Saudi Arabia.
No, actually, sorry.
Yeah.
It is accessible.
Okay, well, certain
Yes.
places is what I'm saying. It's like, in the UK, we are all certainly to an extent bicultural. There is, I think, it's a very generally quite accepting of taking on parts of other cultures and stepping outside of our own into someone else's. But that's not the case all over the world.
No.
A lot of countries are very
Yes, you're right.
monocultural,
You're right.
So they are not prepared. If you are not conforming with the cultural norm, you are then rejected from your own society.
Right.
In many ways.
Right.
Which is not so much the case.
I understand what you mean. Sorry, ma'am. You.
Yeah, I guess what I need to say, and sometimes it makes sense, but before, we're talking about challenging and get them to see what's outside of their community. But before we do that, us as professionals, we know how culture can influence our lives. But they might not. So I think before we go into challenging or anything, we need to go through the first stage of where they can acknowledge first what is their culture, like add some, the stage that is really important here, I think, because, and sometimes in our before, I mean, for us it's common sense, and I feel like sometimes we forget and we go straight into the challenging and straight into showing them what's outside before staying where they are right now and identifying where are they and how the tools impact them.
So what you're saying is to look at myself first as a professional.
Well, it's asking them to identify where is their truth too.
Okay. Again, it goes back to education, isn't it? Educating them.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I like to look at it as, if you look at motivational interviewing skills, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, motivational interviewing says you roll with the resistance. You don't challenge the resistance, right? Because the more you challenge the resistance, what happens? The more resistance they give you. So, we roll with the resistance. And I think education works. In fact, I agree with you. Education works. And I think what the gentleman is trying to say, sir,
yeah.
what I think you're trying to say is, the recovering person should take ownership of his own recovery. Don't expect the family to support or not support it. Go for your meetings, go see your counselor, go. But at the same time, you have your culture, you have your identity. That's not going to go away. Am I right to say that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'd like to interject a comment or perhaps a question with regards
Please.
to doing it geographical. In the sense that, if people move, whether it's culturally or geographically or physically, into another place where they can access that treatment, and they still have to come back and live their lives within, whatever place of origin. I mean, to what extent do you think that might actually be enabling a sort of denial or a feeling? Because after all, wherever you go, you take yourself with you.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So my question therefore is, are we playing into some sort of geographical or denial by perhaps emphasizing this cultural aspect of your
Okay. In fact, actually, even if we don't do a geographical, let's say, I mean, where we are treating people, we have a person who comes from the same hometown, from the same village, right? He's just leaving his home environment where he's very comfortable in using drugs. He's probably most comfortable in his own room or in his own toilet. And he comes to us for treatment. Now he still goes back to the same environment. You get what I mean? So even if he comes from Russia or Germany and he does the geographical, he flies to us, we treat him, we fix him back, he's still going to go back to the same environment again. Right? Now, what I think is very important here, and we do it as well, is the aftercare, the continuum care. Yeah. In fact, very often, when we have patients coming from the same hometown or the same country, even in Malaysia, when they go back home, we tell them little changes to do. We encourage them, maybe paint your wall a different color, move your bed around, don't be too comfortable, because people with addictions need structures. Addiction is about a structure, right? Get up in the morning, take my drugs, get high, go look for money, take drugs. So there's always a structure in your life, and everything has a meaning. Everything, there are triggers. You may have heard of people, places, things. So even the environment they sit in can be triggers. So paint your room, move the bed around, change the color of your bedsheet, get into a support system, which we need to do. Keeping them in a rehab and treating them for 30 days or 90 days is simple. It's a controlled environment. They can't get drugs. They can't relapse, right? But coming out of the rehab, that's when the challenge actually starts. In fact, most relapses happen within the first 3 months of discharge. Most relapses happen then. Okay? And you're right. Moving from one country to another country doesn't solve the problem, because you're still carrying the illness with you. It's the illness that you need to treat. Okay. So this is something that I wanted to share. The respect mnemonic. Respect, R stands for respect. Basically, respect the culture. Do not judge them. Do not make assumptions. A simple thing as mental health professionals. Okay. Now how do we sit? No. What does this say? What does this position say to you? Sorry? Don't come near me?
You have to set accountable law.
Okay. So if I sit like this now, and I'm in a counseling environment. It's okay to you? Okay. Anybody else?
No, you are dominate. You are not equal, you dominate.
Okay. So certain cultures, it sends a message. And
somebody is lower and you are higher.
yes.
I dominate.
Now for the Asians especially, for some Asians, from Southeast Asia, this means disrespect. So if I have a client who's older than me, say 50, 60 years old, that tells you I'm very young, right? I'm sitting like this. It means I'm disrespecting an elderly man. So I need to sit like this. So I'm respecting him. For him. Okay? But you're right, this is? Sorry? Close. Yeah. Yes. I think this is international, everyone feels it. So normally this is how we would sit with someone who's elderly. And when an elderly person stands, we stand. So that's respecting him. Or we don't sit when he stands. He sits, then we sit. Yeah, these simple little things that shows respect. Explanatory model. Explain the model that you're using. Now they may not understand it. They may not know what you're talking about. Use simple English, simple terms. Do not use jargon, do not use scientific language that they understand. Social cultural context. Explain to them in context that they will understand from their social cultural background. Not from my view or my worldview. Power. Now actually, some cultures would like to know that you are an authority. And they function better knowing that you can solve their problem. Would you agree? Yeah, but certain people cannot, yeah? Some cultures cannot. If you tell them you know it all, you will be in trouble. Okay? So power is something that you need to be careful about. Empathy? What's empathy? Yes, thank you. Does everyone know what's empathy? What's the difference between empathy and sympathy, guys? Yeah. Do we sympathize with patients? No. Okay. It's disrespect, I think. Concerns and fears, please clarify their concerns and fears. Ask clarifying questions. What does that mean to you? How can this help you? What can I do better to make you comfortable? What do you need to be more comfortable? Clarifying questions, yeah? Now, do you guys use why in counseling? Are you comfortable in starting a sentence with why? Alright? How many of you say it's alright? There's no right or wrong. Why did you do that? Why are you here? Why do you think your employer sent you here? Okay, how many of you are not comfortable using the word why? Not comfortable. Again, the rest don't speak English. Or it's almost lunchtime. Okay, time's almost up.
There might be some situations where I might use why, but
Yeah. Now generally.
Usually not, but I wouldn't want to say totally not comfortable.
Well, my teachings, I was taught not to start the sentence with why, because sometimes why can be accusatory. It can sound accusatory, right? Why are you here? Or why send you here? Or why do you think your wife thinks you have a problem? So rephrase that as what brought you here? What led you to come here? What can make things better? If you want to be a little bit more solution focused. Yeah? What can I do to make you more comfortable? Instead of why are you so uncomfortable? So we try to avoid why, but I guess sometimes you need to. Of course, then comes the therapeutic alliance and trust. Most people with addictions come to us with mistrust. They don't come with trust. They already come to you looking for reasons not to come. So the moment you give them a reason not to trust, you've lost the patient already or the client already. Okay, so building trust takes a while, 2-3 sessions maybe if you're lucky in a session. The most important thing I think in a session, whether it's cultural or bicultural, is to be genuine, to be really present for the patient, and for the patient to believe or for the client to believe that you're genuine. Now that's the key thing to start building trust. I've been hearing this even in all the other lectures as well. Be genuine, that's the key. I'm here to help you. My job is to help you. Okay? Are you guys alright? Hungry? Yes? Okay, let me end after this. We'll end after this, yeah? People of similar ethnic, cultural groups, race are alike. Is this a myth? Do you believe it's a myth? Okay. Familiarity is equal to competence. Now, there's always this debate about clinicians who are in recovery. You know, some clinicians, psychologists or counselors who are in recovery are better than clinicians who are not in recovery, working with addicts. What do you think about it? Yes, ma'am.
From experience, this is a myth.
Okay.
Because in our place they were looking only for somebody who was using people, and this didn't work, unfortunately.
Okay, let's see a show of hands, okay? Then we'll end it. We'll end the day, guys. Don't worry, I'll let you have your lunch. How many of you think you need to be in recovery to make a good addictions clinicians? To be in recovery to make a good addiction therapist? Okay. How many of you think you don't have to be in recovery to be a good addiction therapist? Okay. Thank you. And I agree with you. Yeah? Now, to be a couples therapist or a family therapist, do you need to be divorced and married again? to work with someone who's going through trauma, do you need to have experienced death or trauma in your life? Not necessarily, yeah? What we need to do is we need to specialize ourselves and equip ourselves with the skills in that area. I'm here to help you. In fact, I had a situation before. I started my work in counseling first doing marital therapy. And back in Singapore, now I speak Malay. If you guys are familiar with Malay, Malay is a Malaysian language. So in Singapore, there were no clinicians who speak Malay, non-Muslim clinicians, but I was one of them. And they put me in charge of divorce cases that went through the Muslim court, the Sharia court. So for divorce cases, this couple needed to see a therapist for 6 to 8 sessions, I think, before they can finalize the divorce. So I used to see couples for this reason. Now, a couple asked me, how do you know what's going on in my mind? Are you divorced? Are you married? It's like, whoa, okay, interesting question. So I asked my supervisor, how do I respond to that? And he said, tell them that, sir, I'm qualified, I've done my qualifications, I'm recognized by the authorities, I'm here to help you because I'm trained to help you. My personal life is I'm not going to bring my personal life experiences into this session, but I'm going to bring my professional experiences into this session to help you. Okay, if that makes any sense? So we don't have to be addicts in order to be the best therapists. We don't have to be multicultural in order to be the best multicultural therapists. You don't have to go and change your religions or ethnicity now. You're fine. But I think what's important is we need to be sensitive to the various backgrounds that people bring to sessions or to the clinical setting. And like I said, the globe is becoming smaller, shrinking. We have breakfast in London and then dinner in France and breakfast the next day in Singapore. It's happening. Yeah? Okay, I hope you'll enjoy the talk. I hope it made some sense. Thank you for... Oh, we have some books to give out, right? Okay. We have some books here. To give out. And if you like, I can autograph it here for you. I'll sign here the books. This is the book that we have our own treatment manuals in Solace, and this one was written up for families. Please read and give us some feedback. So for those of you who stayed back, it was worth it, right? Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.